we want other people to be able to do this, because indie film distribution is such a smoke and mirrors game of like, there's like so much secrecy and like mystery. And a lot of it is just access to knowledge. Who knows like these deal points and like what's normal and like and what's not. And it used to be that only the distributors knew that. And like the filmmakers didn't really have a clue, you know, and there's no way for them to get to know it.
Today is very exciting because we got to talk to Natalie Metzger of Vanishing Angle, and they are blowing up the indie film world. I was so happy that she was willing to talk to us because I don't think it's going to be easy to get meetings, much less get her on the phone in the near future. Like many others, I saw the Thunder Road short about 6 years ago, then followed along to watch their team pretty much fight to get their Thunder Road feature made, which has been talked about a lot by Jim Cummings, and there's great coverage and articles about that which can be found with a simple Google search. But today, we're going to talk about Natalie because I think she's a powerhouse behind the scenes making a lot of this exciting stuff happen. Natalie and Vanishing Angle are making several films a year now while running commercial and marketing companies at the same time. In my opinion, Natalie and her friends are living the filmmaker's dream, and if you want to know how you can replicate that for yourself, you should listen to what she has to say. She's awesome, soak up some wisdom from her, and please enjoy this episode with Natalie Metzger.
A garden of pure ideology.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad.
Or a hilarious beer ad.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
I think you're the best ever.
Look down, back up. Where are you?
You're in the bush.
Well, how am I supposed to know? I've never been there.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do...
Wanna play Bob?
I think we're going to be here a while.
The podcast is Filmmakers and Advertising, but most of us are in advertising because we want to fund our filmmaking ventures, and some people passionately get into the advertising side. Some people just come right out and say, no, man, this is just to fund the filmmaking side. But you and your team, or your friends, I guess I would say, you guys have done it. Like probably in the biggest and coolest way since the Duplass brothers, I guess. I don't know if you get compared to anybody else other than that. But gosh, yeah, I'm going to be all over the place when talking to you. None of this is even a question yet, so I know you probably can't even reply to any of this. But I'm so glad that you're taking some time out of your day.
I'll take that comparison any day. So thank you for that.
Have you really not been compared to them yet?
I don't know. I guess it gets mentioned every once in a while. We've Jay is connected to a project that we're working on, and so we've also met before, and Matt has actually, I think, worked with Mark before, so there's like tangential connections actually there.
Yeah. By the way, I see your ring. Congratulations. Also follow you on Twitter, so I saw you got engaged. Yeah. That was at Angel's Landing, right?
Yeah, at Zion.
Was that your first time doing that?
It was. I didn't quite know what I was getting into. Yeah, I was terrified.
To be honest, I was terrified too, actually.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really,
it's
the other people that scared me, because when people are coming down from that hike and their legs are a little wobbly, like we had people stumbling down towards us, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Somebody's going to knock me off this cliff, which I feel bad that happens. Man, yeah. So let me try to capitalize on the time that I have with you. I just think you guys, if you don't, do you feel like you guys have, quote, blown up? Like, do you feel like you've arrived? Or do you feel like you guys are still a startup?
I definitely feel like we're still a startup. I would not say that we've arrived. I can recognize that we've gained a lot of momentum and become like, I think like awareness about Vanishing Angle has grown, especially in the last like 5 years. For sure. And we are so appreciative and so grateful for like our films just doing well and getting attention, and for our filmmakers to be recognized for the talents that they are. So yeah, we just feel like really, really lucky with that. But yeah, we have a lot more stuff that we want to achieve. So I would not say that we've arrived.
Well, it's really curious because I think a lot of us want to get to where you guys are right now seems like the very exciting stage, because you guys have serious momentum with the movies that you're coming off of. And I can't help but wonder if this is when we would be looking around at our friends thinking, guys, I think this is it. Like, it's going. The machine's going. And that's what it looks like. I'm saying that to say this. I'll have questions for you, but the floor is yours. I'd just love to hear any and all opinions that you may have. Normally we have a topic that we like to stay on, but you are the topic today. So sorry if that feels weird, but I think we just want to sponge up whatever wisdom we can from you, because I just think you guys are so exciting right now. I mean, I think Thunder Road was obviously the big blip on the map, at least from an outsider's perspective. But since then, you guys, you guys feel like the band, where people make the joke about the indie band you knew about in high school, and now other people are finding out, and it's bittersweet because you're like, yeah, they're good. I saw them first, but you didn't. Other people saw them first too.
That is so sweet. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have a ton of wisdom to share. Like, I can definitely like share what my experiences have been, and if that's helpful, like, that's great. I mean, a lot of it is, so Matt Miller founded Vanishing Angle 11 years ago now, a little over 11 years ago. And it was founded on this idea of like that there'd be a commercial side and a narrative side, and that the commercial side of the company would specifically exist to like create this symbiotic relationship with the narrative side. Because, obviously on the narrative indie film side, you can't pay people like their full rates. It's typically, just like passion projects. And so we were able to create the system where crews were willing to work with us on like the commercials. We could get them a great rate there. But then when we asked them, hey, will you work for minimum wage on this like narrative feature? They would be down, because we would have already established that relationship with them. They already knew that we like want to create a respectful environment and like really put creative forward and like try to make cool stuff. And so that kind of helped us have like a consistent crew base to work on and create long-term relationships with them, which just made us all the more efficient because of the kind of shorthand that we developed with everyone. And then it was also really helpful for our creatives, like our directors. We could get them a big directing gig on a commercial, then they can use that to pay their rent for the next 3 months. They can write their next feature film, or they can invest that money in their next short, or, whatever it is. And so like, the kind of the commercial and advertising side and like the narrative side were kind of like built into the company to have this kind of symbiotic relationship. And we also used the commercial side to test out sometimes things of like, hey, there's this new camera or there's this new technology. Like, we wouldn't be able to normally like afford it for like our narrative, but let's like test it out and see how best to use it. And maybe we can figure out a way, to like be efficient with it on the narrative side. And so, and it also just like, I think helped build our craft so that we could really hone, storytelling and whatnot. And that has kind of morphed. We're doing a lot less commercials now, and like the narrative is now covering more of the overhead of the company. So we're kind of focusing more on that. And that's obviously narrative has always been like the baby. But we're kind of expanding what we're, approaching on the other side. So now we've established Fireship, which is our marketing division. And, we were always, kind of cutting our own trailers and doing our own graphics for our own movies, especially the movies that we were self-distributing. And then it kind of just turned into this thing of like, well, we're doing it for those projects and they're doing really well and getting a lot of eyeballs. So why don't we just do those for other projects? And so we got asked by Netflix to start making trailers for them. And we started doing a lot of like graphics and social media assets for like AMC and Shudder. And so that's kind of expanded and, and grown. And so, and we go back to that with our narrative stuff. So like the show we just shot in New Orleans, Fireship is going to be handling all the marketing materials for that, the trailer, the social media assets. And so, I don't know, it's all kind of like, I think we understand that every aspect of filmmaking, when it comes to pre-production, production, post, distribution, marketing, that it's all important. And so we kind of want to have our hands in all of it because it's all creative endeavors, in our minds. So Yeah, I don't know if that answers any of your questions.
I'm gonna ask questions, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Like I said, there's so much you could cover. I want to ask about you first because looking at your resume is intimidating, all the way back to college. I mean, I saw your high honors in everything where you went to school. So let's focus on you for a few minutes first. What made you want to get into film and television? Was there we've identified what commercials are and what they can be. So was there a film that made you want to get into filmmaking? And maybe follow that up with, was there a commercial that made you go, I could do that too, if there was one?
Yeah, I mean, like the funny thing is that I kind of fell into film, and the honest truth is that I've been obsessed with movies since I was like really young. My family was not the kind of family that like went to the movies a lot, or they had kind of their go-to films that we would watch every year, but like I wasn't like a very film-centric family. So I kind of like, I would go to Blockbuster on the side and like bring home a movie to watch like on my own. Like, it wasn't something that was like a shared group thing. But I always thought like it was just kind of like my private thing. I was like, oh, I really like movies, but that's not something like you can go into or like actually work on. And like, I don't think my family would take that seriously. And so it's never something that I actively pursued. And so when I was in college, I focused on theater and dance. I double majored in theater and dance and minored in English. I thought I was going to like start my own theater company because I'd always loved like the creative side and, telling stories. But like my experience in high school was always like, oh, well, you do that through theater. You do that through like live events. And so, I took a film history class at Emory where I went to undergrad, but they didn't even have like a film production program. Like there wasn't at the time. Now they have an amazing program that I've actually like spoken at it, a couple of times, and they're killing it right now. But so I decided that I wanted to get my master's in choreography. Again, like, cause I really liked the behind the scenes, like, oh, I can like tell the story by like creating this visual thing and like rehearsing with these actors or these dancers. And I really liked that. I just didn't think that I was able to do that through film. So when I went to Cal Arts for grad school, it was there that I started getting asked to like choreograph someone's music video or like help out on this, on this project. And I started getting onto film sets. And that was when I was like, oh, this is super cool. And then when I wanted to start sharing my choreography with a larger audience beyond just who's within a 20-mile radius of the theater that it's performing at, I just started filming my choreography. I bought a DSLR camera. I had learned Final Cut in college. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just going to cut together these like little dance films, experimental pieces. And I just submitted those to festivals just kind of for fun. And they started getting awards and some attention. And I was like, oh, well, this is cool. This is great. And, the jump into commercials and music videos from dance films didn't feel like much of a jump at all. It's a lot of like really cool visuals with like fun music or, like it's like a kind of like, oftentimes it can be like a silent medium. Like you can watch a commercial or a music video without like the audio and still like completely understand what's happening. And the same thing as with dance film. And so, so I started like moving more into the music video and commercial space. I worked a lot with women in film, and they have a PSA program where they provide 4 commercials for 4 different nonprofits over the course of a year. And they provide the budget. So the charity doesn't have to like pay for their own commercial, but they're like essentially gifted a commercial. And so I got to see like, okay, cool. This is how you like get a brief, and this is how you write a commercial. This is how you direct it. This is how you produce it. So I had a lot of hands-on training with like working with clients through that. And then while I was doing that, it was kind of simultaneously, a lot of my film school friends were like, hey, can you help me make my short the way you did your short? And I would just kind of help them in whatever ways I could, not understanding that that was what the role of a producer was. I just kind of tried to fill in whatever gaps I saw. And so it was like, okay, cool. Like you need someone to do the budget. I can do that. Oh, you need someone to like coordinate with crew and like negotiate with vendors. I can do that. And so, yeah. And then it became a word of mouth thing where they started telling their friends. And so I started getting emails from strangers who, they would like say, hey, so-and-so recommended you. Can you produce my project? I have this much to pay you. And I was like, I can get paid to do this. This is so much fun. Like I didn't know I could get paid to do this. And so from there, it just kind of became a a snowball effect and like a word of mouth thing where the jobs kept on coming in so fast and furiously that I had to eventually quit my job. I was teaching at CalArts and Pierce College at the time, and so I quit teaching and then started doing film full time, and I kind of haven't stopped since. So yeah, it was kind of a circuitous route to film.
No, that's great. You unintentionally answered like the next 5 of my questions. I appreciate it. Wow, yeah. So then, at what point? Which, by the way, my awkward mime smiles and stuff. That's me learning. I'm audio editing right now, so I have to try to. it's Zoom, man. It's the. I don't want to laugh over you or speak over you. So if I look weird, that's why. But that's really cool. And so you've been in LA for a long time then, right?
Yeah. So I came out here in 2008 to go to grad school, and never went back.
So do you feel, I mean, obviously the conversation about LA versus not LA might be a little different for you guys because you're so established there already. I guess I'm curious what keeps you guys there. And I'm saying you guys because of the context. I'm assuming you're so ingrained with Vanishing Angle. That's why I keep saying you guys. But if it's...
Yeah, no, totally.
If that's not the way to address it, just let me know.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I love LA. When I came out here, I didn't think I would like it. I was like, I'm definitely not an LA girl. Like I like maybe the Bay Area, but like, I love Atlanta. I love like all these different places. But it took me a few years to like find my footing here. But once I did, like LA has so much to offer. And so I really love working here. And we have had, we found that like being at different events and festivals and parties like really help kind of build out that network and like maintain relationships with all the people that we like to work with. But I would also say that nowadays, I mean, especially post-pandemic, you don't have to be in LA to work in film or commercials or anything really. Like you can, we have so many friends who moved out of LA like during the pandemic and are still making movies. We also make a lot of our films outside of LA. We made a feature in Utah earlier this year. We made a series in New Orleans earlier this year. I did a filmmaker residency in Oregon. Like I've maybe spent of the last 8 months of 2021, I've spent 5 months of them not in LA. So yeah, I mean, like, I think it works really well for us because it's such a hub and we really depend on those kind of in-person like meetings and connections. And we also like to do things that are kind of like community building. So before the pandemic, we used to do like weekly group hikes and things where you just get a bunch of filmmakers and creatives together and like go do something fun together, just like on the weekend that's not necessarily film related. And so that's like important for us. And so there's like so many filmmakers here that's great. But like those hubs are now popping up like all over the country. I mean, Atlanta is like a hub. In fact, I was talking to someone recently and they were giving advice to like a new young filmmaker. And they were like, well, you really have to move to either LA or Atlanta. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like it used to be LA or New York, but like now like Atlanta has become such a hub. And like, obviously like New Orleans is such a hub and Salt Lake City. Like, I mean, we've made 2 features in Utah in the last couple of years. And I think we're going to be making a 3rd later this year in Utah. And
wow.
And yeah, and the crew is like so talented and everything. So while LA is like the perfect home for us, like it's definitely not a requirement to like work in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough question it's such a tough question to reply to because of the strong opinions. So sorry for kind of putting you on the spot with that because I've known people who have left and returned in the last 18 months to LA because people have such a hard time making that decision. They think they can do it without LA, then they feel like they have to go back and then they leave again. I know it's an interesting thing, one that we can't solve right now, but I appreciate your opinion on it. When did you join Vanishing Angle?
So I joined the company 6 years ago. Okay. I had met, Vanishing Angle was founded by Matt Miller and Eric Lochner. And so I had met Matt and Eric at a film festival about like 6.5 years ago. I had a documentary there. They had 2 features there. They're actually the first 2 features. And we met at the Filmmaker Lounge and just kind of like connected. And it was like, okay, oh, you're a producer. Like, oh, we should talk. We have a lot of projects coming up. And then, we just kind of like kept in touch, and, I like loved their work. Like my first exposure to Vanishing Angle was through a feature called Too Late. And it's this like incredible film. It's 5 22-minute single take shot on 35 millimeter. And Vanishing Angle self-distributed it on 35 millimeter. So like only theaters that would play the 35 were able to screen it. And it's just like, it's this incredible film with John Hawkes and Joanna Cassidy and Natalie Z. And it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And I had nothing to do with it. I helped out with the EPKs like after I joined the company, but yeah, so I met them, and then, they like brought me in to start, hey, we have this like pilot that we need someone to produce. Hey, we have this like small music video. And so it's like a bunch of small projects at first of like, hey, take this on. And then as we like worked together, and we obviously were just like the same vibe and style, that it was like, okay, great. Now do this full series, now do this other series, now do this feature, just kind of like snowballed from there. But yeah, so the past 6 years have been a whirlwind of projects. And I was doing a lot of projects outside of the company still when I first started. But I came on full time as the VP of production and development about 2 years ago now.
What does that mean? So does that mean, like, how did that change your role? Are you a big voice, or maybe the voice, or one of the primary voices at the table for deciding which projects you guys are starting next? I mean, these are such weighted questions because you guys seem to have so much momentum now. I mean, I've seen 2 of your movies at least in the last year, with you've got the beta test right around the corner, and then Thunder Road like 3 or 4 years before that. So apologize, I sound like such a doofus. I am so excited to talk to you about this stuff. I really am. Because I've been nerding. I have annoyed my friends and filmmaking team and stuff, because I'm like, guys, just watch what they're doing. All we have to do is copy what they're doing. They're literally saying to copy them. And so, like you mentioned that Vanishing Angle was already. So here's something that stuck out from something that you stuck out. What's wrong with me? Something that stuck out from something you just said. You said they've been doing self-distribution for a while. So it sounds like they had some practice at that prior to Thunder Road.
Yeah, so that was actually like helped really us make the decision about self-distributing Thunder Road, because Matt had really led the charge on self-distributing Too Late. And, it was kind of like, a similar situation where there had been a bunch of distribution offers, on the film, but like they just didn't feel like they were, the offers on the table were like prioritizing the theatrical run of the film. And because Too Late was shot on 35 millimeter, it was just like, this was like meant to be seen on the big screen. Like it's 5 22-minute single takes. Like it's, the only changes in the reel, cuts are when you change the reel over. And so it seemed like a shame to not have this like full theatrical and to do like a day and date. And so Matt kind of like led the charge with Dennis Houck, the director. He was like, let's just do it on our own and see what we can do. And so because of that, Matt had a lot of great relationships with a lot of like the art house cinemas across the country. They already knew him. They'd had success with Too Late. And so there was a familiarity with Vanishing Angle. And then like we were really lucky when Thunder Road came out. It was when Amazon was doing their Stars program. And so if you were, nominated at either Sundance or South by Southwest, like in competition there, they would give you automatically $100,000 streaming deal. And so like between that existing deal and then what we knew that we could do with art house cinemas based off of what Matt had done with Too Late, it seems like a no-brainer to self-distribute Thunder Road, because like, again, like we had a lot of great offers on the table. They just didn't quite check off all the boxes that we wanted of like really prioritizing, the like theatrical run. And we feel like we could like really kind of bet on ourselves with that. And so we did. And then that combined with the international, like premiering at Cannes, like was hugely helpful with our international release. And and it found a lot of success in France and the UK and in other territories. So yeah, I don't know. And then that's kind of the success at Thunder Road helped with, and I also forgot to mention that Sundance gave us a creative distribution grant, which was hugely helpful in covering all the like P&A involved with getting that out. But that then like kind of laid the groundwork for us to be able to do it again. So like now we're doing it again with Beast, the film that we had at Sundance a couple of years ago with Danny Madden. So like it's not, self-distribution is not the choice for every film, but it's nice that we have the option because it just allows us the freedom to see like what the offers are on the table and then to kind of choose the best one, knowing that we also have the ability to do it ourselves.
I've read your Sundance case study distribution plan on Thunder Road probably 3 times now because it's so dense and detailed and really informative. So I've heard Jim explain it, in several other places. So I wouldn't ask you to suffer through it again here. You've probably had to talk about it so many times. It's a cool model, especially when hearing that you guys didn't, if I remember correctly, you guys didn't quite get a deal that covered your production costs and you gambled on yourselves and you're like, we can do this ourselves. And you did. Which was really cool. So I'm going to link that in the show notes because it's super, super cool. Like that's really informative that you guys did that. But it really is kind of a blueprint. Part of the reason I've looked at it so many times is because it may as well scream "do this" at the top. That's what we want it to be. We want it. I mean, part of the entire reason for like doing that was like we want other people to be able to do this because indie film distribution is like such a like smoke and mirrors game of like, there's like so much secrecy and like mystery and a lot of it is just access to knowledge. It's like who knows like these like deal points and like what's normal and what's not. And it used to be that only the distributors knew that. And like the filmmakers didn't really have a clue, and there's no way for them to get to know it. But, with the internet and globalization and like just like communication, increasing like that's not a necessity anymore. Like we can get the information, we can gather it. And so like we want it to be a game where everyone has all the information and it's no longer a gatekeeper thing with like deals being negotiated just because someone knows a little bit more. It's like everyone should know everything. And then let's talk about the deals and it, distributors can still have like a lot of success with like different films and make a lot of money. And like, but then like filmmakers are just coming in with like a little bit more knowledge. And so they aren't kind of like getting taken advantage of that. Like sometimes they did before and sometimes they didn't, but it's just like, we want to empower people to be able to make movies. Yeah. Well, that kind of goes back to my asking if you guys get compared to the Duplass brothers, because you seem to be the champions for, the upcoming indie filmmaking generation, which is really cool. So much so that I skip questions. Like, I'm like, well, that's dumb. I shouldn't ask her that. But I should ask you some of these things. Like, is there anything you wish you had known when you started out? Like when you were 18, Is there anything you wish you had done differently?
So many things.
Really?
I think one of the big things that I think I've learned over the course of the last decade, I would say, is that there's no right way to do something. And so I think like, when I first started making movies, I was very hesitant and shy about everything. And I was like, oh, well, there's like, a way that this is supposed to happen and a way that this is organized. And like, I just might not know it yet. And like, there's some like higher power, there's some like company, there's some distributor, there's some like there's someone that like knows how to do it. And I just like need to learn more. And the more that I made movies, and like everything from shorts to like commercials to music videos to series to features, the more I learned that like there is no right way, at least like not in like movie making in like the 21st century. There might have been back when it was like only like the couple studios and like you went to a sound stage and there was like this like correct way. But, oftentimes I would like work on a project that, wasn't a Vanishing Angle project and be like, why are we doing this way? Like, there's a more efficient way to do this. Or like, if we digitize this and that would like save an entire like crew member or or, oh, we could like save so much time if we did this. And a lot of times I would hear like, oh, but that's not how it's done. I'm like, but why? Like, if there's clearly like technology allows us to do things better and more efficiently, and like we should embrace that. And so I think like the last decade has really shown me that there is no right way, and like you shouldn't, and like you should feel empowered to know that there is no right way. That like if you see a way to do it better or cooler, do it. Like don't be shy about it. Don't think that someone else like knows better. And I think like once I figured that out, it empowered me so much to like be like, oh no, I can like approach filmmaking in my own way, and like this is the way that I do it. It might not be the way that everyone else does it, but this like works really well for me. And I think once I kind of got over like, oh, is this the right way? It like was such a relief. And I'm like, cool, I can just make movies efficiently. And and what I found is that it actually like oftentimes is better. And I'm sure there's other things that I do that like maybe aren't better, but like we like testing and experimenting different processes to see like what works the best. And I don't know.
Well, it's cool because you're not just doing your projects in-house, which are very cool, and I still want to ask about everything. But you just did Werewolves Within with, do I say with Ubisoft? I mean, are they like the primary partner? So yeah. Did Ubisoft trust you to do it? That's a fascinating relationship, by the way. I mean, because as if the crossover between like gaming entertainment isn't interesting enough already, you're making movies with a gaming company. You should totally stick your foot in the door and be like, hey, if you need a director for that next big epic video game, just want to remind you, we made your movie. Do it. That'd be really cool. What was that relationship like, if you're allowed to talk about it, compared to where you're usually just the chief of your own castle? I mean, first of all, I watched it opening night because I was excited, for you guys. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. I think you can see the filmmaking, and I mean that in a good way. Like it seemed like it was a really cool achievement, and I'm assuming that's the one of the ones you guys shot in Utah, right? A couple of years ago.
No, so we shot that in upstate New York. Yeah, that was upstate New York, January through March of 2020. We wrapped March 10th of 2020, 3 days before the lockdown. Like we got so lucky with our timing on that one. We were just like so grateful that we were able to make it. But we were upstate, so we kept on hearing, oh, people are talking about this virus, like it's, but it's in a different country. And then it was like, oh, they're talking about this virus, but like it's only in the city, so we don't have to worry about it. And then by the time we were flying back to LA, we like had this question of like, should we fly or should we just drive? Like it was like just becoming this like thing of like, maybe this is going to be really bad. And of course we had no idea how bad it would be, but we were so lucky that we were able to do all of post-production remotely. We didn't even meet our editor in person until I think our final sound mix. Can
I ask you a question about that? So what were you guys using? Were you using Frame.io or Collaborate or something to do edits and edit notes?
Yeah, so we used a bunch of things. So like Frame.io is kind of our like go-to for like most of our like post-production and like and giving notes. But during the pandemic, when like we couldn't even be in the same room, we used a program called Evercast that allows like for streaming without like delays and stuff.
So you guys were doing live edit feedback?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, working with Ubisoft was honestly like, it was a dream. They were like such great collaborators, and they were really open from the very beginning. So we got put in touch with them because of The Wolf of Snow Hollow, which we did with MGM's Orion, and that one we did shoot in Utah.
That was the one. Yeah. My bad.
Two different werewolf movies. It can be very confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had just shot that one with with them, and it had just come out, and Ubisoft had like been talking to MGM of like, hey, do you guys know like indie producers, like a production company that like kind of can work in this like low budget space, and like can do this successfully. We have like a werewolf movie set in the snow. And they were like, oh, do we have the books for you? So we got looped in with them, and we had a meeting. They didn't have a director attached. It was a very early draft of the script, and so we kind of came in and we were like, hey, like we would love to be like involved, like we would love to like collaborate, as much as possible. So they like, and they were so open to it because like Ubisoft was in the process of starting their own independent film studio, so they had licensed their IP to a bunch of different like outside studios, but this was their first film that they were like, we are doing this fully independently, like we are financing this on our own. And so they were kind of like looking to us to help them kind of like, figure that out of like,
so
okay,
cool. That is so cool that you guys got to be the ones to do that with them. I mean, because Ubisoft is huge.
Yeah. And they were just so open and collaborative. Like, so like Margaret Boykin, especially, she's like their head of development over there, and she's just fantastic. And
is she in LA or is she in Montreal? Or
in LA? Yeah.
Okay.
And so we like got, we like came in and, we did like a bunch of like notes on the script. We also pitched a couple different directors, and we were like so happy that we were able to pitch Josh Rubin because we had just seen the first feedback screening he did for his film Scare Me, his first feature, he had invited us to. So we went and saw it. And like, we had no idea going in. We had always known Josh as like an actor, and we had cast him in our film Greener Grass, this poster, and then like we knew that he was doing like some shorts and stuff, but this was his first feature. We watched it. We were like, oh my God, this is incredible! Like incredible horror comedy. And then when we met with Ubisoft, and they're like, yeah, we're just like looking for someone that like really understands like horror comedy and this like fine line, and we were like, oh my gosh, let us like pitch you this guy. And then Josh came in and just to get this like amazing pitch. And so we all were just like one to make that movie that he had pitched. And so like working with Josh was amazing, and working like with Ubisoft, was amazing. And we were all there on the ground together. Margaret, Andrew, and Jason from Ubisoft, and then Matt, me, and Ben from Vanishing Angle. And like, we kind of just like, I don't know, melded together and made this thing. But I had to give Ubisoft so much credit that they really gave kind of free reign with the creative, where they were like, at first we were worried, like, okay, how many Easter eggs with the video game do we have to do? How true do we have to be to this? And their big mandate was like, just make a cool movie, make like the coolest movie you can make off the premise. And so like, we were like, okay, awesome. And that like, you never get that from like such a big company to like take that much creative risk. And I think it shows with like, like it's now, I think like the highest rated video game movie on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's because like Ubisoft was like really kind of pushed for that. And I have to give them like all the credit for that. And just being such open collaborators with us.
Well, I mean, it would be nice if they could hear that praise much more loudly, because I'm sure you guys knew and saw going into this that video games to movies are torn apart based on movies of the past. So you guys, that was a really cool achievement. And, a movie like this one, at Werewolves Within, to be specific, is why I asked if you feel like you've arrived, because working with Ubisoft and then having that kind of creative freedom, that must have been really, really cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, gosh. And I mean, we're all over the place timeline wise, but I'll try to avoid Thunder Road a little bit, just because I know you guys have talked about it so much. There's so much stuff out there with Thunder Road, but it's a really cool achievement, obviously. But were you, it sounds like there were a lot of movies going on at once. I mean, were you involved with every single one? Or were there some where you were like, okay, guys, I'm all in on Werewolves Within. I actually can't help with the beta test or Snow Hollow. How did that work out for you? Because you guys seem to be doing a lot now.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. I think we're dividing and conquering a little bit more now than we did before, just because of like, resources and bandwidth. But like I would say before this year, like it was very much like, us taking on a lot of, if it was a bigger project, like the whole like team would be, on board. For other projects, we would like split it. So like we filmed Greener Grass and Beast at the same time in the same city. They look so different. They feel like they like happen in completely different worlds. Um, but yeah, and so I was running point on Greener Grass and was the lead producer on that, while Ben Wiesner, our VP of sales and distribution, he was running point on Beast. While Matt was back in LA handling distribution on another film and prepping, you know, all the different projects and also running a bunch of commercials. And so we definitely like divide and conquer, like depending on like the size of the project. And like, so right now we just wrapped a feature in Utah called California King, and Matt was running point on that and I was supporting, but Ben is off in Massachusetts prepping a new feature. And so it's, you know, we spread out, but like we're all tend to be pretty involved, at least in the decision to take something on. And then, you know, definitely in like the, you know, distribution process and like making sure, you know, it has like the right support. But yeah,
so you guys are going. How are you I mean, so you kind of started talking about how you're dividing things up. It sounds like you guys are wearing the hat that's necessary at different times. I mean, how are you avoiding being spread thin? I mean, are you, I guess I'm asking about your workflow a little bit, because you have, B13, is that the commercial branch for doing commercials? And then you have Firestarter, right? That's the marketing. Did I say it right? Fireship, Firestarter, what the heck? Do you guys take certain days? Do you like, okay, guys, Tuesdays are commercial days only? How are you dividing up your work and keeping yourselves sane?
That's a great question.
Or is that too big of a question?
It's a work in progress.
Okay.
But no, I mean, we definitely don't like organize it, you know, in terms of like certain days or anything like that. You know, like a lot of our processes are like very kind of organic of like, okay, this is the thing that's requiring our attention now. And I think it's like why we kind of like are able to stay nimble and like do a lot of things, because we're like wearing a lot of hats of like, okay, great, we're going to deal with, you know, so-and-so is going to be handling the production of this one while so-and-so is like handling posts on this one. And like, and then let's have a company strategy meeting to talk through like overall marketing. And, but yeah, I mean, I think we just kind of like look at everything that we're committed to, and then kind of decide on, you know, when new projects come in, if we're able to take them on or not. And I think that's the case across the board. You know, if it's a feature, if it's a series, if it's a commercial, it's like, okay, this opportunity came up, like, do we have the bandwidth to take it on? And I think that's like, it's like a constant moving target, you know, depending like one week to the next can be like so different. I think like right now, 2021 has proven to be insanely busy for us. You know, we thought it was going to be a slower year because like the pandemic is still happening and like, you know, yeah. COVID protocols and, you know, and all that stuff. But 2021 has been like the busiest year that we've ever had so far. And we're actually seeing that across the board of like, you know, a lot of states are seeing like the most productions they've ever had in like one summer, like from this past summer. And so I think there's just kind of this like post-pandemic rush happening. But yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna, by the end of this year, we're gonna have produced, I think 4 or 5 features just this year, which is crazy.
That's the dream, though. You guys did it. That's so cool. How involved were you with the beta test, like from the beginning? And I'm curious because I am gonna ask about Wefunder, but I don't want to bug you to death if it's because that's why I'm curious about how you guys are separating the films, because you're doing so many. Was that something that you were all in with, or was that maybe someone else's?
Yeah, no, I was all in on that one. Yeah, we shot that November of 2019. Yeah, it was one of those things where we had this like opening of like late fall to do it. And so, yeah, Matt, Ben, and I, we, you know, all 3 of us produced it. But in terms of like the kind of like on the ground, like scheduling, I also first AD'd that one just because we didn't have the budget for our first AD. So I was the producer and the first AD. And
that's awesome. No, thank you for sharing that, because that stuff, that's really helpful to hear about how you guys are, you know, making that budget work.
Yeah. And like, you know, it was a small budget, but but we were able to pull it off. Like even, with all the kind of crazy aspects, there's a lot of locations, there's a ton of actors. It's, it's like, there's stunts and whatnot. It was a pretty involved film, but yeah, that one was like, it was just like really, really fun and crazy to make. And it was nice to, we very rarely get to shoot a feature in Los Angeles. And so it was nice to be able to shoot in our hometown and kind of take advantage of all that stuff. My house was used in it. It functioned as Jim's character's home. So yeah, I was all in on that one.
Well, if I could take it back a little bit, because I also feel like you guys, I'd never heard of Wefunder until you guys, and I feel like you guys really made that blow up. In fact, I don't even know if enough people know about it yet. I look at it all the time. It's a cool experiment because I contributed just the bare minimum, like the $100 minimum. So just so you know, I own beta test, not you.
Yay!
Because I was so curious. I was just like, well, this is cool. Absolutely. Take my money. But it's such a cool concept, the exchange. And for anyone who doesn't know, I'll go over the basic contract is that you can get up to 125% of your investment back. So for me, who did the bare minimum, I invested 100. I will get, if you guys are to perform, which we'll address, I would get $125 back, which you guys have, and I don't know if I'm saying this correctly or not, you might have to teach me here for a second. You guys have already sold a certain amount of distribution rights to IFC, correct? And correct. With the campaign being $350,000, you guys sold that for, what, $400,000 or something? So I'm just going off of, I think, the Deadline or Variety article, whoever did it, but I believe everyone's already made their investment back for the most part. So you don't even have to sweat the Wefunder experiment at all. Like, which, by the way, I do want to note, amazing job. My default here is to try to get you to talk more than me, but I don't know if you would have mentioned this. I saw Jim and I think Matt, maybe PJ McCabe and other people. I mean, the questions and the comments on doing an equity crowdfunding campaign looked vicious. And I'll say it so that you don't have to. Some of these people had just really aggressive questions. And I just read through every single one and I was like, wow, this must have been very stressful to be simultaneously in pre-production for a film while answering every single one of these questions. But it seemed like a really cool experiment. I guess, could you just maybe freestyle a little bit and tell me about the Wefunder experiment and why you guys picked it? And would you do it again, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, and I have to give credit. Matt Miller was really kind of spearheading the Wefunder campaign and getting it launched and everything. But yeah, it was, Thunder Road was like a mix of self-financing and private equity that was kind of cobbled together. The Wolf of Snow Hollow, Jim's second feature, was kind of like a negative pickup with a studio. And so when the beta test came up, it was something that, I think Jim wanted something that he can do like quickly, not wait on a studio for, and really have like total ownership over the creative. And so when Wefunder came up, it just seemed like it was perfect. We've used like crowd donations before, like, Kickstarter and Indiegogo. But the opportunity to have something like Wefunder, where it's crowd equity, where people are actually profit participants in the film, was so unique and so amazing. And it's what we wanted to encourage people to do. Like, we didn't want to just be like, cool, like you gave $100 and you get a poster. Like, we wanted people to like share in the proceeds if the film did well. And we wanted it to be, that's kind of always been our mandate, is like, to like share the wealth, share the support, like we're all in this together kind of team vibe. And Wefunder allowed us to do that. And so, it was one of the first feature films that was on Wefunder. So Wefunder like mostly started as a kind of like tech financing platform. And so, people like would like invest in different, new gadgets or tech devices. But Jim kind of saw it and was like, this could be great for film. And so, yeah, I mean, we launched our campaign. We took bets internally of how long it would take for us to raise all the financing. I definitely lost. Matt Miller definitely won. I thought it would take us like a couple months. I think I estimated 5 weeks, and Matt estimated 2 weeks. And we raised $350K in 12 days, less than 2 weeks. So it was like a wild success. We were like so happy that like, you know, we kind of went into it being like, we don't know if this thing is going to work. We don't know if people like will be interested in this. And so, yeah, it was just like so nice to have that affirmation of like, cool, like this is the thing, like people like can actually like participate in, you know, in the film on an investment side. And so, yeah, there was like, you know, it was interesting kind of figuring out all the logistics with like Wefunder of like, you know, just like the nature of like what a film is and like when you need the funds, you know, and like and whatnot. I think there was like a little bit of like a learning curve there, but yeah, we were so happy to be able to do it, and then also to have a film that we were able to make the budget back with our like domestic distribution, and then international is just going to be on top of that, which is great.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so we actually used it again for our feature "See You Then," which was at South by Southwest this year. We raised the financing through Wefunder for that. So yeah, like I think it doesn't make sense for all films, and it's definitely for like a certain budget level that I think it you know it works the best for. But it's a great option and model for like something where you can maintain creative control, and as long as the investors and supporters like believe in you as a filmmaker, like you're, I think it's like one of the best solutions for that.
Yeah, I will try to pitch friends on it with their projects or one of our projects, and I will point to the beta test page a lot, and a lot of those questions back to, like I mentioned, where people are asking hard questions, and you guys had to answer them. And I think something that actually kind of gets lost in that information is a lot of people don't realize that they're still going to make money beyond their 125%. They're going to make money with, is it 25 or 35%? See, because you guys accidentally, because Wefunder has this weird thing, right? Like you raised more money than you intended. So didn't you guys have to open up funding again and like give away more shares because you guys raised so much money so quickly?
Yeah, we had to turn down money because so like, Wefunder was supposed to have this like cap on the raise, and for whatever reason it didn't exist there, and so like we got funds that we had to turn down and be like, sorry, we're like all capped out on, you know, on like on this one in terms of like the percentages that everyone has, but like get us on the next one. And so it felt so weird like turning down money for like a film, but you know, it's just like, you know, like the nature of what Wefunder is, where everyone's kind of like going in for this like this specific pot, you know, that like everyone has a, you know, their own portion of. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I just think it's a really cool model of, you know, we're all about democratization of things, you know, it's like the democratization of like filmmaking itself, of like distribution of and now like of like financing, you know, it's like the more that you can like share as a group and as a team and have everyone involved, and get rid of gatekeepers, the better.
Do you think that it's, and these might be bad numbers, but do you think that because of the nature of equity crowdfunding, that it's easier to raise 160 on Wefunder than it is to raise 60 on Kickstarter? Because of what Wefunder is, because that's people, I mean, I feel like the investors, okay, so I'm an investor. I'm going to buy the beta test. I don't know when it's coming out. I don't know where. I just know that I'm buying it because I invested in it. So now that's even more money that's like going towards the beta test, which is totally fine. But I'm just saying, like, I'm that much more loyal because of how far in I am. And I can only assume it's the same for the other 254 investors or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, you know, part of it is like, is having people that are going to support the film, that are gonna like mention it from the rooftops of like, hey, like this film, like, you know, check it out, because they are profit participants. Like if the film does well, you know, you do well. And so I think, I mean, that's like definitely, you know, kind of part of it is like expanding the team of like people behind your film, who and of course, like with Kickstarter or with like, other things, there's definitely like, like you're building your audience, but I do think it's different when there's like a financial reward like attached, and it's and it's people like actual hard-earned cash that's like being invested and that they're going to get back. And so yeah.
Do you have like a good fail story? Have you had a botch recently or in the last few years that you learned something from, or a failure that may have set you up for success later or will set you up for success later? It's a stereotypical corny question, but it is a good one. But if it's not there, I totally understand.
I love that question. I think I feel like it's more about missed opportunities. And I think particularly like early on in my career, there's this kind of like this trust of like, well, there's like this there are these other people that know more than me. They must know more than me. And so I think I took no at face value a lot of like, oh, they don't want to support my project, like, okay. And not asking questions or like digging deeper, or just being like too shy to even ask at all. And I think like looking back, I'm like, oh, I know what that response was. And that wasn't actually a like, no, we're not going to do this project. It's just like, this just requires a little bit of follow-up, or this requires a little bit of clarification. And I think I led like a lot of projects, like not like a lot, but there were probably some projects that I could have like participated in or could have pushed faster if I just been willing to like to dig in a little bit more and to push for things. And so I think I started learning to not take no for an answer with like things like financing or things, like the difficult questions. Like for example, with my feature documentary, Special Blood, I had been trying to raise the financing for that for like a year. And I had talked to like all these different companies that I thought would have like an invested interest in it. And I'd heard no so often that I was like truly ready to like give up. And I like was very close to walking away. But a friend of mine said that she uses LinkedIn to try to access people that she might not normally be able to access. And so I remember starting to like look up like, okay, the head of marketing at this company told me no, but I feel like the CEO would really like it. So I just need to like talk to him. And I remember just like looking on LinkedIn and like trying to search and finding out his name and just being like, okay, great. I'm just going to guess at his email address. I'm going to put first name dot last name, first initial dot last name, first initial or first name, last initial, and just like tried a whole bunch of things until I didn't get a bounce back. And I ended up hearing back from him, and he was like, this sounds great. He ended up like looping in the like marketing person who had just told me no, and said like, great, let's do this project. And like, that was my first little bit of financing that then I was able to circle back to everyone else and get the full financing for the film. But like, I was so close to just like walking away. And I think if it had been like a year earlier, I probably would have been too shy to like, just like follow up or like make that like ask. But luckily, like my friend was just kind of like, you know what, just keep doing this thing. But like looking back, I'm like, oh, I bet you there are a lot of missed opportunities that I just like, I was too scared to like make the ask.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. So with how well you guys are doing with narrative, are you going to back off of commercials, or is Vanishing Angle or Natalie going to back off of commercials a little bit? Because, I mean, you obviously can't do everything. These projects are getting too big, right? Like, you can't worry about the commercial while you're doing other stuff. And I know you're a multi-hyphenate, so I haven't even been able to ask yet. Are you eventually going to be like, hey, guys, just so you know, I'm directing this one? Is that around the corner at all? So I asked two questions there. So let me... Are you gonna stay involved with the commercials, or are you personally, or is Vanishing Angle slowing down on those because of the narrative stuff?
I think we're definitely like slowing down, just like mostly because during the pandemic, it was just like very hard to make, you know, the budgets work for those without and like a lot of brands were like a little bit more like just like kind of let's push pause, let's like see where this all shakes out to. And so those definitely slowed down this year. I think it'll depend on what next year looks like. With the narrative being so back to back, it's definitely hard to fit it all in. But I also still love working with the filmmakers that I love to work with. And so like if one of them it like ends up doing a commercial, I'll pretty much like always say yes. Like for example, earlier this year, I produced a commercial for an organization called Science Moms that was directed by Jocelyn DeBoer and Don Luby, the directors of Greener Grass. And I just like love them so much. They are like incredible filmmakers. And so when they were like, "Hey, Natalie, are you available?" We shot the week before I left for New Orleans for the series. It was 2 weeks before production for that show. And it was like an insane time work-wise, but I was like, I can't say no. And so I did that commercial for like that week before. I mean, we're definitely still doing them. It's definitely not as much as we used to. I think it really just kind of depends on like who the filmmaker is and what the project is, and like if it makes sense within our schedule.
I guess I'm just curious, are there any apps or anything, or like what your process looks like how with managing all these projects, like what tools do you find the most useful for someone in your position? Because you're kind of a chief. I mean, basically, as I understand it, looking from the outside in, you're overseeing a lot. Or are you just an email and a notepad person? Because I know those too. Sometimes I'm like, do you use Trello? And they're like, I have this notepad. What's this question?
No, I actually love this question because I swear by my like workflow and the apps that I use. And so I love like promoting them. Honestly, it's pretty simple. Like I'm like full Google. So I keep everything in Google Drive. So I keep like all of our project folders, you know, as like different projects in Google Drive. Then we have obviously lots of different subfolders within that of like, you know, all of our budget and crew agreements and legal and all those things. Google Calendar, I swear by. I like live and breathe by Google Calendar. And Google Photos we use for like all of our like BTS and stuff. It's great because it automatically like organizes by date, and you can sort by people's faces, and it automatically detects whose face is where. So you can like search for a specific person and just pull up all those photos. But like honestly, I think the thing that has helped me the most with just like maintaining all of the different stuff, because like at this point I receive an email like every few minutes, and so it's just like a little bit, you know, it's like a lot to like, you know, process. But I have this system where whenever an email comes in, I try to read it like right away, and then I have a starring system. So I read it, and then if it needs, if it's something that I can respond to like really quickly, I'll try to respond right in that minute, because it's like just use the 2 minutes to do it instead of having to reread it later and then spend that extra time. And like it's like just trying to save a few minutes here and there, but that can add up over the course of a day. So I try to either respond like real quick if something that needs a more involved response, or if I'm just like not in a place where I can respond properly, I'll just star it. And so I have like my inbox organized by starred emails at the top, followed by drafts. And I kind of use those as like my to-do list for the day. And that way, like nothing ever falls through the cracks. There's never like an email that just like doesn't get responded to, because it's always in my starred, and I try to work through my starred at the end of every day. I don't always get through them all, but I try to like be pretty consistent with getting through them to like so that there's no stars by the end.
Do you guys have a team task manager platform that you guys use?
You know what? We don't. We've tried different things, and like none of them I think work for us, just because we're all doing such different projects that like something like Slack, where everyone's kind of like, you know, like interacting in real time. It just, I don't know. It's like, it's never kind of worked worked for us like enough to maintain it. We've like tried different things. And yeah, we just use email. Really.
I was hoping you'd save me because that's kind of a tough one. I thought I made the perfect system in Monday.com and Asana, and I was like, this is it. It's flawless. It can't break. And even still, it just kind of, I don't know. I don't think, even if you make the perfect system, I just don't think that's how people work.
Yeah.
It's a lazy way of explaining it. Well, cool. I guess I want to ask, if there's a, hypothetically, right? Because I don't know if you still talk to film students or not. But let's say there's a young team of friends in front of you, and they want to glean some of your wisdom. What would you tell them to do to get started right now? Or maybe tell them to not do to get started. Now, I know this might sound a little redundant because you guys talk about this so much. You're so good at it. You're such a great example. But I guess I'm just curious. What would you tell them to do and tell them not to do? If a little girl or a college girl, listen to me, I'm getting old. Someone looked at you and said, like, I want to be like you, but what do I do now? Because that was a few years ago and this is now. Has anything changed? Do you have a motto or mantra or advice that you would throw their way if they wanted to be the next, like, Natalie and Jim and Vanishing Angle?
I would say to start making stuff. I think there's this, there's sometimes this like feeling of, oh, I need to wait until I'm at a certain place to be able to do this project, or I need to wait until I like have this person attached or this thing in order to do it. And I think, a lot of what we've been able to achieve is like, because we've just done a lot. So we've like really worked our craft. So like, before we did the Thunder Road feature, Jim and I had worked on 9 short films together, and he had done 10 short films with like the Thunder Road short. And so it's just like, there is a working of the craft and constantly making yourself better, and then developing also those relationships with your collaborators, with crew, with key department heads, with other creatives. And so I think like don't be scared to just start making stuff, and like don't worry about if it's like I think there's a lot of pressure, especially with film school, to this is your thesis film, and so this has to be like the perfect short, everything has to go into it, and that's great, and there's like some amazing thesis films that come out of film school. But I also think because there's that pressure, sometimes people just like aren't just making stuff just to make stuff and just to experiment. And so there's like so much that can be learned with doing those things, of just actively being on set and working. And then that would actually be, that segues into my like next thing, which is just like get on set, look on Mandy.com or like whatever film resource there is, in your local area, and just start like seeing how other people do it. I like helped out on so many other different projects, and I saw how so many different producers worked, how so many different directors worked. And there were things that I loved about certain things and things that I hated about certain things. And so I like cherry picked my things of like, cool, I'm never going to do that. Oh, I really like how that person does that. And you can kind of like develop your own style by just like being around how other people are doing it. And like film sets are kind of their own weird universe, and everyone kind of does things a little bit differently. And so just like getting on a ton of sets and seeing how different people do it is so helpful and useful.
Thanks. Appreciate you sharing that. That kind of ties into what you said earlier about doing things your way on film sets and with your productions. Well, Natalie, I don't want to hold you all day. Is there anything else you wanted to share about maybe how people can follow you or approach you, or maybe not to look you up? Do you not want your email to be blown up for certain things? I mean, you are the head of development, right? I mean, do you get scripts and a bunch of stuff now that you guys are getting out there more?
Oh yeah, no, I get multiple scripts a day in my inbox every day. My Instagram is at Natalie Metzger, Twitter is at Metzart, Facebook Natalie Metzger, all of those things, and and obviously like through the Vanishing Angle website or my own website, nataliemetz.com.
Do you know when the beta test is coming out?
Yes, November 5th. It'll be in
November
theaters.
5th. In theaters only, or do we not know yet? Is that too far out to know right now?
It'll be in theaters for a little bit, and then it'll be available on all the digital platforms.
Awesome. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. You had great questions.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to another episode with us. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Natalie Metzger as much as I did. I think you should go follow them everywhere that you can. By them, I mean Vanishing Angle, Jim Cummings, Natalie herself, and pay attention to what they're doing. I think they're leading the charge for young or upcoming indie filmmakers, and they are a great and giving community, and they share a lot of what they're doing and what's working for them. As always, if you have any ideas for who you think we should have on next, please shoot us a message and we'll give it a shot. From Cry, a creative production and post-production house in New York City, I'm Cody, and this is Filmmakers in Advertising.